Hello and thank you for joining me in another video. Now while we're sticking with the theme of steam trains, I just wanted to share some of my experiences photographing these amazing machines and to help you and take something away with getting your steam train photos looking like those classic photos that you see from the golden age of the steam railway. Now I won't waffle on too much, I'll just roll the video and I hope that you can take something away from it. So I'm at the train station, and as you can see, there's already a couple of photographers here. So that's always a good sign. That means there is definitely a steam train going to arrive. So I'm setting up the tripod, but before I stick the camera on the tripod, I'm going to obviously just check where the best place is to stand to get the best composition. And I'm looking to get that classic steam train at the station shot, which is kind of 45 degrees more or less angle onto the front of the train, and I'm on the other side of the platform. The train is going to be coming in from Worcester Hill on platform 2, which is the other side. Just wait for this train to come in. Kev Hemler, diesel, because I want to try, if possible, to get the details of the wheels and the steam mechanism at the base of the train. As you can probably see, we want to get the details of the steam train and the wheels in, because that's what we all come out for, is the engineering and the technology of these fantastic old steam trains. So because I'm just going handheld at the moment, just to get a composition lined up, I'm just going to make sure my steady shot is on. Not that it really matters. Obviously need to wait for this train to depart. And to be fair, again, middle of July, it's completely overcast, which is perfect conditions really for flattening out shadows and desaturating those harsh colours. It would be nice to get a bit of dappled light and a bit of contrasting shadows, but beggars can't be choosers. And I always ask myself the question, what am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to get the main focal subject, which is the train. I'm trying to get a good composition, and also I'm trying to get sharpness throughout. So I'm going to probably go down to aperture f11 and then work out what my shutter speed should be from that. Now, if the train's moving, then I want my shutter speed to be quite high, because the last thing I want is to get home and the train's motion blurred, which would be perceived as it being out of focus. So I'm going to do a couple of test shots at different shutter speeds and maybe bump up the ISO, and then just review them in camera just to make sure that the exposure is okay and I've got no blinkies when I look at the back of the viewfinder at the image. Now, with my aperture at f11 and my shutter speed at 200ths of a second, I'm having to bump my ISO up to 320, but it's better to have slightly grainy images than blurry images. But the Sony camera and most cameras these days can handle the noise really well. I don't think this train is going to bugger off anytime soon, so just time to tell you that I have actually got on my 16 to 35mm lens. I've got my 50mm in the bag, only because I don't think the 50mm I'm going to be able to get back far enough. Steam trains are quite big to get the whole steam train in and the station. We want to try and show that the steam train is in a station. Once the train's buggered off, I'm going to get a few test shots, and I'm going to only try and have it back at 35mm just to avoid distortion. If I go any wider, or I go all the way down to 16, then we are going to see distortion. And in human-made structures like steam trains and stations, you will get distortion. So I'm going to try and stick at 35mm and get a couple of compositions just to get well practiced before I stick the camera on the tripod. So obviously what I'm going to do is just line up a couple of test shots, and it's very tempting to go back from 35mm to say 20mm. I have to be really disciplined, and also have to be careful what's on the edges of my frame. Try not to get too much sky in. What happens if I come up? Yeah, we can see more of the platform and the wheels. All right, I think we've got a good place to set up the tripod, so let's get the tripod set up. So this is the composition I'm going for, with the platform at about 45 degrees to the camera. I want to make sure that I can get the wheels of the steam train in and a bit of sky. If the steam train's going full pelt, then hopefully I'll be able to get a bit of steam and soot coming out the top. I am at shutter speed 200ths of a second, aperture f11 to try and get everything in focus, and I've just had to bump my ISO up to 320 just to get some of the details out in the shadows. I'm just checking around the edge of my frame. I've got the canopy of the platform here, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do much about. I just hate cutting off objects halfway through, but the main focus is obviously going to be the steam train, and then that's the kind of composition we're going to go for. I'm a little bit high on the tripod so that I can get the wheels and all the engineering in when the steam train turns up. What I'm going to do while we've got this train is just switch off my steady shot because we're on the tripod. And what we're also going to do is set up a remote shutter because I don't want to introduce any movement into the photograph with my hands touching the tripod. Right, I've just took a couple of shots of a guy walking over the other side of the platform. So what I'm going to do is check that he is completely in focus, which, yeah, he is, which gives me some kind of benchmark that 200 shutter speed is going to be okay. And if I check my blinkers in the back of the camera, I've only got some very slight ones in the shadowy areas, but because we're looking at a JPEG preview, I think we should be okay on the raw file. So it's literally just a case of waiting now. Okay, here it comes, a little bit earlier than expected. So I'm just going to switch my shutter on. And here we go. Wow, that all happened incredibly fast. I don't know whether I managed to get a shot. Now essentially in Lightroom, I've chosen the best composition, cropped and rotated the image, cleaned up any distractions, converted it to monochrome, did some global adjustments to the curves and contrast, sharpened the picture, lightened the background and added a vignette to give it that overall old-fashioned feel. I feel that this is definitely one for the portfolio, and if you've enjoyed this video, all I'll ask is if you give it a thumbs up. That would be amazing. Thank you for watching and see you next time.